Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we take up MCQs based on important articles and news from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. Topics which we are going to cover today are displayed on your screen. Let's begin the discussion. Now let's start our session with our first news which appeared on page 3 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, recently some anomalies were noted by the Sigur Elephant Corridor Inquiry Committee at a private school in the notified elephant corridor in the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. Now, as you know, protected areas and wildlife conservation efforts are recurrent in UPSC prelims examination as question based on Agasthyamala Biosphere Reserve came in year 2019. Now let's come to the practice question. Here you can see two columns are there. In the first one you are provided with tiger reserves and in the second you are provided with the respective states and you have to find out the correct pair using the code given below. Now the first is Sita Nadi Tiger Reserve. It is a wildlife sanctuary located in Chhattisgarh. It is named after Sita Nadi River which originates from this sanctuary and joins Mahanadi River near Diokut. So first pair is incorrect. Next is Mukundra Hills. It is a national park in Rajasthan. It was established in 2004 and consists of three wildlife sanctuaries. First is Dara, second National Chambal Sanctuary and the third one is Jawahar Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. So our second pair is correct. Third is Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. It is a national park in the Nilgiri Mountains in Tamil Nadu and not in Kerala. It shares boundaries with the states of Karnataka and Kerala. It is drained by the Moya River. So our third pair is incorrect. And the last one is Kaval Tiger Reserve. It is a nature preserve located in the Telangana state of India. This sanctuary is catchment for the rivers Godavari and Kadam which flow towards the south of the sanctuary. So our fourth pair is correct. So our answer is option B. 2 and 4 only. Answer of this PYQ is option A. Now our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 1 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, recently output growth of India's 8 core sectors were rebounded to 5.4% in November 2022 from a revised estimates of a 0.9% uptake in October 2022. Now, there were multiple previous year questions on 8 core sectors and its index. So, one must have a clear understanding on each sector weightage. So, let's come to the practice question. Here, you have to find out the correct statements with reference to Index of Industrial Production, that is IIP. The first statement is core sector industries constitute around 50% of the weight of items included in the IIP index. Now to find out whether this statement is correct or incorrect, you should know what is Index of Industrial Production. It is a figure that depicts the growth rates of various industries grouping in the economy over a given time period. The Central Statistical Organization, now known as National Statistics Office, calculates and publish the IIP index on a monthly basis. So our second statement is correct. It is currently calculated using 2011 to 12 as the base year. It includes 8 core industries of India representing 40% of the weight of items that are included in the IIP. So our first statement is incorrect. Also, 8 core industries included in the IIP are petroleum and refinery production, electricity, steel, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement and fertilizer. Now with this you can see petroleum and refinery production and electricity are given the highest weightage in the IIP index. So our third statement is incorrect. So here our correct answer is option C, that is 2 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 5 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, recently scientists of the National Center for Biological Sciences NCBS in Bangalore have discovered secrets of a long evolutionary game through which butterflies come to warn, pull and escape their predators using traits such as wing colors, even flight behavior. Now, any discoveries with respect to flora and fauna of India is important in UPSC prelims examination. Like this question based on butterflies came in 2017. Now let's come to the practice question. Here you have to identify the incorrect statements with respect to biotic interaction. The first statement is in commensalism interaction, one species is harmed and other remains unaffected. Now, as you know that organisms living in this earth are interlinked to each other in one way or other. The interaction between the organism is fundamental for its survival and functioning of ecosystem as a whole. Now, in commensalism, one species benefits and not harmed and the other remain unaffected. For example, cow dung provides food and shelter to dung beetles. The beetles have no effect on the cows. So our first statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the second statement. Mimicry offers superficial resemblance and confers advantage of protection from predator. Now, mimicry phenomena characterized by the superficial resemblance of two or more organisms that are not closely related taxonomically. This resemblance confers an advantage such as protection from predation upon one or both organisms by which the organisms deceive the animate agent of natural selection. So our second statement is correct. Now let's come to the third statement. In commensalism, one species benefits and the other remains unaffected. Now in this, one species is harmed and not benefits and other remains unaffected. So our third statement is incorrect. The example of this is as large tree shades are small plants, retarding the growth of the small plant. The small plant has no effect on the large tree. So with this, our correct answer is option C. That is 1 and 3 only. Answer of this PYQ is option C. Now our next question is based on this article, which appear on page 3 in the Indian Express. The context of this article is that recently, according to IMD officials, national capital will witness dense fog and cold wave situation in coming days. Now, UPSC has been asking questions based on important geographical phenomena, as in 2019, it has asked questions based on dewdrops. So today's practice question is based on different type of fogs. So here you have to identify the incorrect statements. The first is steam fogs are formed when warm moist air from ocean moves over land surface. Now this statement is incorrect as steam fogs are formed when cold air moves from land over oceanic surface and there is evaporation of large quantity of moisture from water surface to saturate the overlying cold air. Now let's come to the second statement. Radiation fog is formed when warm and moist air lies over cold ground surface. Now this statement is correct as radiation fog is formed when warm and moist air lies over cold ground surface. Due to this situation, overlying moist and warm air cools and thus reaches to dew point and condensation occurs around hygroscopic nuclei, thus fog is originated. Now let's come to the third statement. Advection fogs are generally originated on sea surface during winters. Now as this type of fog is formed due to mixing of warm moist air and cold air. So advection fogs are generally originated during winters on land surface and during summers on sea surface because lands are relatively colder than sea surface during winters. So our third statement is incorrect. So here our correct answer is option C, that is 1 and 3 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now our next question is based on this article, which appeared on page 9 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about collective voices by various NGOs against the withdrawal of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. On December 23rd, the union government announced that it would discontinue the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana from January 1st, 2023. Now, as UPSC has been asking questions based on various government initiatives and schemes, like in 2018, they have asked about National Food Security Act 2013. So let's come to the practice question. Here, you have to identify the correct statements with reference to Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. Now, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana is a food security welfare scheme announced by the Government of India in March 2020. It is operated by Department of Food and Public Distribution under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. So our third statement is correct. It provides 5 kg of rice or wheat according to regional dietary preferences per person monthly. So our second statement is incorrect as it talk about 5 kg of food grain per household per month. Also, it aims to feed the poorest citizens of India by providing grain through public distribution system to all priority households, that is ration card holders and those identified by Antodaya Ann Yojana scheme. So our first statement is correct. And these priority households are to be identified by state government, union territory administrators as per criteria evolved by them. So here our correct answer is option C, that is 1 and 3 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now our last question is based on this article which featured on page 4 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about the delay in urban local body polls in UP. Now, panchayat and urban local bodies occupy considerable weightage in prelims as well as in mains examination. One must remember the provisions enacted under 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendments Act. So let's come to the practice question. Here you have to identify the correct statements with respect to reservation of seats in municipalities. Now, the first statement is Constitution of India provides for reservation 1/3 of seats in any given municipality for members from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, women and other backward classes. Now, this statement is incorrect as Constitution of India does not provide for reserving 1/3 seats for members from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, women and other backward classes. The various section of Article 243, Section T provides for reservation of seats in municipalities. However, the reservation for other backward classes is not mentioned in the Constitution. So our first statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the second statement. Supreme Court of India has mandated triple test condition to be followed by state governments before reserving seats in any given municipality for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So, to find out whether this statement is correct or incorrect, one should know what is triple test condition. It is a formula to determine reservation to OBC in local bodies based on 3 following conditions. The first is to set up dedicated commission to conduct empirical inquiry into the nature of the backwardness in the local bodies. Second is to specify the proportion of reservation required to be provisioned local body wise. And the last is such reservation shall not exceed aggregate of 50% of the total seats reserved for SC, STs and OBCs taken together. So here this statement is incorrect as Supreme Court of India has mandated triple test condition to be followed by state governments before reserving seats in any given municipality for other backward classes. So here our answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Answer of this PYQ is option B. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates.